This is the 17th season of Bass Talk Live with your hosts, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pingrak. BTL is brought to you by Lawrence, Bass Cat Boats, APCO, Ducket Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, Exo Lures, Yamagatsu, The Bass Tank, and Denali Rods. BTL coming at you. Good Tuesday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where Matt and I are going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, good show today. We're going to have Ott DeFoe on, but man, last night, just total domination by the Baylor Bears.
Yeah, the college basketball national championship was on.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you watched it. I did not watch it. I just watched the highlights of it afterwards.
That's all that was needed, man. Honestly, the first 10 minutes of the game, it was done, finished, over. Baylor's that good.
Wow.
So it was pretty entertaining, but at the same time, once again, I'll make the same statement, kind of boring, because it was such a lopsided victory. I mean, the Zags tried to come back a little bit, and they cut it to 9, I think, at one time. But then Baylor they shot the ball lights out, and it was a pretty epic display of defense. I mean, in-your-face defense.
I was surprised that it was Texas's, second national championship in the state of Texas for basketball?
I have no idea.
I believe it was. Only the second time that a school from Texas has been the national champion.
Who was the other one? Houston? Did Houston win it?
I might have been, yeah, but it was not the Longhorns. I know that.
I think it was Houston.
Anyway, so it got me thinking, can you name any other classic champions from Texas? Name the classic champions from Texas off the top of your head.
Wow.
Because Alton Jones, obviously, came to the forefront because they just announced that the classic was on Hartwell where he won in 2008.
Yeah.
But outside of that, we got to be missing someone obvious here.
That's a can-do question, man.
Who else from Texas has won a Bassmaster Classic?
Yeah.
Because, like in basketball, with all the major schools that they have down there, you would just assume that there were a ton of Texans that have won the Bassmaster Classic.
That's a great question. Huh. We'll ask Ken tomorrow. You know why? Because tomorrow he's going to be on again, and we're going to do the Sunline Hotline show. So if you have a question for Ken, you're going to get an opportunity tomorrow to ask him. Just call in, ask the question, and then hopefully Ken will be able to answer it. But last night when I was watching the game, I watched the pregame hype and all that and everything. It got me thinking. And as I like to do on this show, and as everybody that listens and watches this show knows that I talk about sports quite a bit, but I always like to try and make a similarity or a comparison to what's taking place in the bass fishing world.
Right.
Last night got me thinking. All right, as a lot of championships and big sporting events do in a comparison to what's going on in fishing. Let me ask you this, Matt. What are your thoughts about the hype? And when I say the hype, I'm talking about all the extracurricular stuff that's going on from a production standpoint, from a player standpoint, from a video standpoint. Dude, my opinion, and I'm probably old school on this, roll the frickin' ball out and let's get after it. Forget about all the fluff. What are your feelings about the fluff? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm fine with it for a national championship game.
What about the Classic?
I'm fine with it for the Classic.
And you remember we had this discussion about all the hype that was taking place. Roll those guys through there. Let's see who's going to take home the check and the trophy.
That's what makes it the Classic. That's what makes it a national championship.
Why?
Having to deal with all
Explain
of it.
why.
It's entertainment.
It is not.
Yeah, it is.
How does that entertain you? What is entertaining about people?
The fireworks,
the self-promotion of what they're doing.
It's all just part of the show. It's what makes it. It's what gives it. That's why they say it everyone was talking about with the COVID and the lack of fans and all that, the feel of the Final Four. But that's the difference between...
That's not the 15 minutes that they throw that stuff up there.
Do not get pumped up over this, Mark. There's a lot better things. We just have to...
I am not pumped up. It was just like, I'm like, come on, guys, come on. Why are you videotaping all these guys, taking all this time to put together these video pieces that mean absolutely nothing on what the core issue is? The core entertainment. Roll the freaking ball out there and let's get after it, boys.
Mm-hmm. Takahiro Omori obviously comes to mind too. I just
Tommy
went through
Martin
the list.
too. And somebody said, was Rick Clunn living in Texas for some of his victories?
Possibly.
Maybe. But that's a great question because of all the anglers that come out of the state of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Anyway, I just had last night when I was watching and I was, all the pregame stuff that was going on, I was thinking about how much time and effort, and I'm not taking away from what they do. They did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
They do just a fantastic job on what they're doing to build it up in the Bassmaster Classic and every other big event that's on television. But
plus, it's a money-making deal. I mean, all those.
How is it money? It's money spending. You think that just comes free?
What are we talking about?
Oh my gosh.
What type of fluff? You're talking about everything that surrounds the game.
No. I'm talking about all the video work, the presentations of this guy and that guy.
Yeah,
and
it puts it into perspective.
Dude, it's the freaking Final Four. Everybody knows.
Well, that's not true.
What's going on?
Because there's also a lot of people who are watching it because there's someone that's a fan in their family that's watching it. There's a lot more eyeballs on it. So if you can put it into context to where you have someone who's not a basketball fan who watches a set piece on a kid, now they're going to be more vested in the game. It's the same thing.
I'm not taking that away.
Where they do little pieces on it so you have someone to root for.
20 minutes of video stuff is too much.
Yeah, but during that 20 minutes, then you get an extra couple commercial breaks, and now you're on the air for an extra hour. And
you're in the Final Four.
You can pay more freaking bills.
I get it. This is not an argument to be had on this show. I'm just telling you, folks. All right? Maybe that's just the old school in me. But I am all about, hey, let's showcase what these anglers, what these kids, what these players can do. It's not about the hype.
Gary has not won a Bassmaster Classic.
No,
he, I believe his closest, was he not stuck in a lock with the winning Classic bag? At one point? Like he had it in the bag and he was
I can't remember exactly
stuck in a
the
lock.
story. Once again, that's
like didn't get through?
Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't remember that one. That's pretty epic if it was. We'll ask Ken tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. But the other thing I want to mention real quick, dude, you know what's going on right here in our home state this week? I totally forgot about it until last night.
What's that?
On Grand Lake?
What's going on? Is there a big derby coming up?
The Toyota?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And they're actually catching them.
Now, my question is are they going to be on the beds? Is this going to turn into a sight fishing game?
I think they're going to start to get on the beds. It's supposed to be good weather. Sorry, I was a little confused. I was looking up this Gary Klein. Gary Klein is another casualty of the late penalty while fishing in the 1987 Bassmaster Classic on the Ohio River. Yeah. Gary, like several competitors, was locking through the next pool. He asked the lock what time. He said no later than 12:30. Gary ran 40 miles. He arrived 20 minutes early, only to find the lock doors closing and the water rising. For whatever reason, the lock tender failed to honor the specified time he had told Gary. Gary sat there with a live well full of fish, knowing he would not make it to check-in. His 9-pound limit would have propelled him to the top spot. Instead, he zeroed that day and had to watch as George Cochran went on to win with one of the lowest weights ever in recorded classic history.
Wow. What year was that?
30 classics, and that would have been 1987.
Wow, you think Gary likes talking about that story?
No, I don't think we should ever bring that up. This is actually in a 2015 article that Bernie Schultz penned talking about some late fees. I knew I had heard.
Would you be afraid to ask Gary that question? Do you think that would be a good 20 feet deep?
No.
Do you think he would open up and finally...
Well, there's really not much to the story. Well, what's the story that the lock guy screwed him when he told him? It's over in 10 minutes.
A 20 feet deep short.
Yeah.
I think he would talk about it.
No.
It's been 23 years, 24 years?
No, it's been 30 years.
34 years?
Yeah.
He would talk about it. I think he would talk about it. You afraid to ask him?
No.
You want to call him up?
It is what it is. I would rather redo the Jim Bitterfish than that one. I mean, there's just been a couple clips and interviews on that, I think. I mean, there's still, obviously Tim Tucker's no longer with us, who was in the boat with him, but there's still a lot of people we could interview about that fish.
Yeah.
That was classic winning fish.
Yeah. All right. So what's your estimate on Grand this week? There's a lot of stuff going on.
60 pounds.
3 days, right?
Yeah, 20 pounds a day.
And they're probably moving up.
Yes, they are moving up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are super shallow.
Now you got the Elite Series.
There was a Podunkers deal. I believe Andy Littlejohn won it this past week. I think he had 23 and he was fishing with like his 12-year-old. Maybe his 10-year-old.
Yeah, but he knows the lake like freaking back.
Well, I'm
his
just
hand.
saying that they're biting. They've had other ones where all
Yeah.
these guys who are out there all the time and guide out there have not caught them.
Yeah.
So they're starting to bite. There are a lot of, I think there was a 19 and 18, several 16s, and it was only 30 boats. So
Cool. All right. What about Orange, Texas? What are your thoughts on that?
that's going to be an interesting one. I've been talking to a number of guys down there, and it's a little different this time around. I think it's going to fish extremely small. Supposedly, it's supposed to fish better because of the time of the year. They've either been there like before or after. It's supposed to fish better now, but it's a little off, and it's going to fish crowded. Imagine
Long runs?
that. I have no idea. I have not talked to anybody about Houston.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. I think you'll see a runaway in this
All right. Now,
from someone. I have no idea what they're doing, but I think there's
special place.
There's going to be a lot of guys that are doing the same things.
Special
Remember
place,
when
right?
Rojas there had that special place that was
Yeah.
the long run, and then obviously the Houston is a long run. But you also now have to remember Louisiana's off limits, so you're talking limited areas.
Yeah.
And the water's, I guess, low.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know how many magical spots exist. I mean, I'm sure they do, but
and then you have heavy hitters getting ready to take place.
so
We'll talk to Ott about
are
that.
you familiar with this heavy hitters format?
A little bit. If it's the same as
No,
last
it's
year.
different. It's something like that I've never seen before. So obviously they're at this. They're in the Carolinas, and there's 3 lakes there. Remember they did it before, and there's a lot of 4 to 6 pounders,
Yeah.
and they're all small lakes, which is one of the beauties of Major League Fishing is they can go to the smaller. So here's the way they're doing it, and this is crazy. So this is from last year's heavy hitters. You take your biggest fish from each event, and then you qualify. I'm guessing Ott didn't qualify, which is shocking. It's like the only thing he hasn't qualified for
Yeah.
in the past couple years. But so they have 2 groups, Groups A and Groups B, right? And they're doing the same alternating days. And then they take the top anglers from Group A and Group B that move on to the knockout round. They take 18, though, to the knockout round and then the finals. But here's the deal. Groups A and Groups B are fishing different lakes, Mark.
Really?
Yeah. So I was reading about it, and I have not ever remembered this. It happens in golf, right? Don't they have several where there's like different courses that they...
Yeah, but I think they hit the
Right.
course at one time.
So
during
when
the
they
tournament.
did this last time, these guys had to practice like 3 different lakes, right? So there was some deal like, I wasn't able to practice that much on the different lakes. So what they did was they split it up to where Group A or B, one of them will fish Jordan Lake, and the other one will fish Falls Lake. So like Group A fishes Jordan Lake for 2 days, Group B fishes Falls Lake for 3 days. And the guys, I guess, like kind of had an input on this because now they can practice their entire time on one lake instead of trying to split it up. Yeah, Group A fished 2 days on Jordan Lake. Group B fishes 2 days on Falls Lake. And then...
Hey, by the way, Ott's in the field.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, it doesn't start till I think the 9th.
Well, today's the 6th.
Yeah.
Is he home?
Yeah.
How close is it to his house?
It's not that far.
Oh, he is. So here's the other thing that is optioned, because big bass in this tournament, in each round, is like $25, $50, and $100,000.
Yeah.
So if you win the round, you go to the championship round. But they also give the winning angler for Group A and B the option of fishing in the qualifying rounds or in the cut round instead of just going straight to the championship, so they don't miss out on that opportunity to possibly win the $50,000.
Huh. Okay.
So it's like, hey, you won. You're in the championship round. You can either like hang out if you want, work on your tackle, do interviews, whatever. Or you can fish. You're already in there. Even if you don't catch them, you're already in the championship, but you can just go headhunt now. Which I think is an interesting
That is interesting.
wrinkle.
Yeah.
And then the knockout and championship rounds will be on Sharon Harris.
Huh.
So there's going to be some guys who who get draws. And, you know, obviously, you know, each lake suits different anglers differently. So some guys probably will draw Jordan Lake and would have rather been on Falls Lake and vice versa. But that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. By the way, according to what I am looking at right now, I think Ott had the second largest bass of the season.
Okay. Well,
He had a 9.6
where did you find this?
on the site, on the website.
Where?
It's right there. You click on the link. Anyway, Randall Tharp.
There's a link. I can't
Yeah.
find standings, results, who's in it, nothing. I can't find anything on that stuff.
You click on the BPT and it takes you right to it. All the info's right there.
I don't understand
That's okay.
how to get around this.
Anyway,
I'm trying to find.
Randall Tharp had the largest fish of the season.
Where is this link?
9.15.
Okay, I'm going to type in Major League Fishing. Okay, I'm on MajorLeagueFishing.com. I see
Yeah.
Luke Clausen, who's fishing not to lose.
You
What a
click on
brilliant
the
strategy.
BPT
Under circuits,
over on the left-hand side.
under circuits,
Yeah.
it says Bass Pro Tour at the top.
Yeah. Click on that.
Okay, I got the same thing.
And then scroll down
I'm scrolling.
and it says top 40.
I got top 10 on Sam Ray. Where does it say it?
Oh, jeez. Here, I'll walk you through it real quick.
Okay. Yeah, well,
One more
I
time.
thought that's what we were doing.
Well, no, because I already have it pulled up. Okay, so click on the Bass Pro Tour.
I'm on it.
Okay. Scroll down.
I've got, does your top one say Luke Clausen, fishing not to lose? And then the next one is the explanation. And then there's a Toro cut line. And then
Yeah, and then
with
click
another-
on where it says competition, practice schedules, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, that's right where I was.
Okay.
Okay.
And then
You keep scrolling all the way down there? I see the gear that caught him at Sam Rayburn, top 10 on Sam Rayburn.
hang on.
See, you're in the same boat as I am now.
I have it. I have it pulled up, dude.
Well, there has to be a trail.
Oh, right
somewhere.
there. Yeah. Okay. Go back. All
Okay.
right. Are you on the BPT?
Yeah.
Okay. See on the right hand side, schedule events, general tire, heavy hitters. See that on the right hand side?
This is a lost cause.
Come on, dude. It's not that tough. Right there. General tire, heavy hitters.
No, I'm on a different page.
Okay, that's
Hold
part
on.
of the issue.
Okay, General Tire heavy hitters.
All right, click on that.
Okay. Here are the 40 that qualified.
Heavy hitters. Here are the 40 qualifiers. There
Okay,
you go.
I got it. It is there. Well, that was like a sub deal.
Yeah. So there you have all the guys that are in it and what their biggest fish was.
Yeah, Ott
get them
DeFoe,
in there.
31-1, had a 9.6.
Yeah. Jordan Lee had 34-14 with an 8-14. So I don't know, man. Very interesting. See how that goes down. But just a ton of stuff going on here in this week of April. And
it starts in 3 days of practice.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So plenty of time.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to Ott a little bit about that. I am really intrigued with what's going to go down in Orange, Texas, because
too.
I like the grinds. And we've asked the fans out there before, do you like the swing fest? Do you like the grinds? And I'm amazed by the responses that we get from the fans about how the fans truly do like the challenging events. And even though it's April, this is going to be a challenging event. And where I think the fans, including myself, can learn the most from what's going to go down in Orange, Texas, is what these guys do to adjust.
100% agree.
What are the adjustments that are going to be made during the week? And folks, if you follow this stuff to become a better angler, what those guys do from adjusting and how they go about finding what they have found in those key areas, that is really what you should pick up on, because hopefully that can help you be a better angler on the weekends or whatever you fish.
I think Orange, Texas is one of the, if not the best prime example wherever professional fishing goes or has gone, of fish management, of strategy, and of a game plan, because you have every element. You have limited fish, you have tides, you have small areas, you have the potential for long runs. There's so many factors that come into play where every bite is important. So execution, decision-making, and game plan, it's hard to recover if you lack in any one of those three disciplines.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be dialed in on all of those.
Yeah. And then the other event that we mentioned earlier, the one that's taking place on Grand Lake, folks, for us being here in Oklahoma, we are always intrigued with what goes down on that body of water, because the cycles that lake has been through, mainly due to the pressure, right? But now you have a very interesting characteristic based upon the weather that has taken place in the early spring. Right now, they're starting to move up, as Matt mentioned. So I'm going to be all over the place watching what
Would you say
goes on.
Obviously, we had a couple really good year classes of fish in that 11, 12, 13 on Grand Lake. But would you say as a whole, the bite windows on Grand have gotten smaller over the past 5 years?
Yeah.
It seems like you could go at any time and catch them and then really smash them at certain times. And it seems now that productive window for Grand, where Grand is fishing like Grand, back when KVD called it the best non-grass lake in the country, those windows are becoming smaller and smaller. And I don't know whether it's fishing pressure or
there's a lot. I think there's a lot
all
of factors.
sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But I also think it's just a year class of fish and a cyclical thing.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break here on a Tuesday. Come back with our special guest, Ott DeFoe, right here in a few minutes. So everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. The best fish finding tools, from chirp sonar and fish reveal to active imaging and new active target live sonar, and complete touchscreen control from your trolling motor to your big motor. For a limited time, building the ultimate fishing system will be easier on your wallet. Upgrade to HDS Live with a Ghost trolling motor, active target sonar, or live sight sonar, and save up to $800.
Basscat's legendary 20-foot platform has been paired with angler-approved accessories for 2021. Puma FTD features the proven hull used by many of the top names in bass fishing today, backed by a transferable lifetime warranty. The Puma FTD boasts a full team deck concept which enhances efficiency for you and your tournament partners. Turnkey tournament-winning performance. The Puma FTD SP from Basscat.
Big companies get bigger and bigger and talk about their fancy labs where they study fish behavior. But then they all go golfing on the weekend. We don't have a large laboratory to test baits. Why, you ask? We don't need a big laboratory because our pros fish, our employees fish, our salespeople fish, our suppliers fish, our mold builders fish, our owners fish, and our kids fish. This is our laboratory. Our R&D comes from time on the water, learning how to make fish bite. All that time on the water brings us thousands of hours of testing new products and improving current ones for all species.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
All right, we are back on a Tuesday. Mark and Matt in studio. And Matt, you're getting ready to hit the road next week, aren't you?
Yeah, I have the Bassmaster Open on Douglas Lake, which I don't think you can say. I'm watching Ott. I'm going to say Douglas Lake. See, he smiled. You can't say Douglas
smile.
Lake without Ott DeFoe breaking into a big grin.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's ever fished that place out of a fiberglass boat.
You can ask him. All right.
Twice. Twice. And he's fished it about 50 times.
All right, we'll bring Ott in just in a few seconds here, real quick. We missed out on one of the schools in Texas. It was UTEP. I don't know what I was thinking. They made a movie about it.
Oh, okay. That was the other school.
That was the other school in Texas.
See, I knew that stat, too.
I'm impressed. Very impressed.
Are you not surprised, though, that there are not more Texas anglers that have won the Classic?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. We'll get into more in depth about that subject with Ken tomorrow when he's on. All right, let's bring in Ott. Ott, you there, man?
I'm here, guys. How are y'all doing?
All right. Doing good, man. Thanks for taking time. I know it's a busy week getting ready to head to the heavy hitters, but, man, you got to love the state of Texas.
I do really love the state of Texas. It's been so good to us here. That's a little bit of orange. If you see that there, I'll get that off the screen a little bit. Eating some late breakfast, but yeah, Texas has, and it's been like 12 and a half months and 3 wins in Texas, which is just, so it's really been pretty awesome. And this one down there, Sam Rayburn. I had a good first day of the tournament. It was having a problem.
Well, we're getting every third word, but Jeffrey's just hitting the settings. I think
I got
we're
it.
golden now.
We're good now.
Okay, good deal.
I heard Sam Rayburn in there though.
Yeah.
No.
Something happened on Sam Rayburn, not?
Yeah, I caught just enough. Caught him late, but just enough. That was. I was my first qualifying day. I was in like fourth at the end of the day, and I was actually just reviewing some of my stuff from my YouTube channel, and like my post interview after day one, I was in fourth place. I'm like, I really don't have a good, I don't know where I'm going to go catch them. I got a good place to start, and after that, it's just kind of one here, one there. But it was really that second day, my qualifying day, when I was like, yeah, I might could win this tournament.
Did it surprise you how tough Rayburn fished? I mean, everyone expected you guys to go down there and have 100 pounds. And when did you, and were you well, obviously you can't talk to your other competitors in this, but when did you realize, this is going to be more of a grind than a slugfest?
Oh, yeah, we can talk up until practice starts. And that's, I talked with Andy, I talked with Alton Jr. at dinner the night we got there, before practice. And man, and looking at other events, you follow, for example, in other places where Okeechobee and places where we've caught them good, and that's with our deal. You go to Grand. If it's fishing decent, it's going to take 13, 14 a day to get paid. It's going to take 18 a day to win. You know what it's going to be because it's 5 fish. Those are size fish that's there. All that kind of stuff. You can kind of compute that out. Well, it's like Rayburn. If it's fishing good and looking at the tournaments that were there before, it's bunches of bags in the 20-pound range. I'm like, man, it's going to take 30 a day to get paid. And and that's, because we can count all the 2-pounders we catch, and generally you catch a lot of 2-pounders on Rayburn. And man, I just, for the life of me, it's going to take 30 a day to get paid. It may even take 40 a day just to make it, to get paid. And who knows what it's going to take to win? That was where my head was at. And then, and the first day of practice, I spent up the lake and got a fair number of bites. And I felt like I had, I'm gonna say I felt like I had a dozen over 2 pounds. But I'm like, that's probably okay. And then the next day I spent down the lake. And I'm like, whoa, this is terrible. There was the first pocket I fished in, I think there were 12 boats, because that was a Saturday. That's no exaggeration. And that was a pocket. And I'm not talking the creek I went in the back end. There were 50. But there was like a 500 boat high school tournament. There was another 300 or so in local events, R80, plus just the recreational anglers. So I'm gonna say there's upwards of 1,000 boats on that lake.
Wow.
Yeah, plus that ABA had a top 150 that was out there, and those guys were all practicing.
Jeez.
Yeah, but it was. I spent the first half of that day down in the Castle Boykin South area. Kind of where you usually fish there, and it was just. Everywhere you went, you about couldn't find a place to stop. And so finally, up in the day, I'm going to run back north and just see if it's anywhere near as bad up there. And dude, you got up there and there's crickets. I'm like, well, I know where I'm fishing. So that was kind of my mindset. It's like, I don't know if this is going to be the best or not, but I ain't fishing around all these people.
No, like north, you're talking the spot where when you first go to Rayburn, everyone says, don't run up north unless you know where you're going. Like that up north?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And that was I had Thrift won a FLW tour back in 14 fishing up north, and to my knowledge that's the only major event that had ever been won that I could find anyway, up that way. And I talked to him a little bit about it, and Thrift was like, and I just ran. I'm like, are you serious? And I was like, he's like, yeah, man, I just ran, and I went and I did my research as best I could to go back and try to find where the water levels were then, and the best I could tell, they were 6 inches or a foot lower than what they were now. I'm like, if he ran then, I'm just going to run. So I put the boat in the water at the boat ramp, and I took off. I never idled. I would dodge what I could see.
Wow.
I ran the Tommy Bill method. I missed what I could see. If I couldn't see, it wasn't there. And I ran everywhere I wanted to run.
Wow.
I didn't know you had that in you. I thought you were more a little conservative than that. I didn't take you to be.
Well,
that's interesting.
I had 1 day to practice up there.
Right.
I'm like, I can't idle everywhere. I'm just going to put it on plane. And if something jumps up and bites me, then I guess I'll try to figure it out from there. But that was, I did. I idled away from the boat ramp, and I put it on plane, and I jacked it up, and I just trimmed it up, and I ran around about 38 miles an hour.
That's someone calling him probably.
Yeah.
He'll be back in about 5 seconds. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So I think I got you back now. Mercury would not approve me saying this. So this isn't their statement. It's my statement. But we were at an event up there at Mercury a few years ago and going through some of the engineering and some of the stuff. And they were talking about gear cases. And they said, yeah, we the way we, rate them, for impact is at 45 miles an hour, it will shear. That they design them that at 45, that's kind of a safety feature, essentially, that it's not going to stop the boat, that it will actually shear the gear case. I said, so if we're running through really sketchy areas, I need 42 needs to be my max speed if I want to keep my gear case. And they were like, it still depends on the impact. About 38 is kind of my safe speed. So, yeah, that's not Mercury endorsed. That's just that's the way I operate.
As Bobby Lane always said, he said, there's a reason why they make more than one lower unit for each motor.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
All right, man. I want to talk a little bit real quick about the way things ended. I watched the final day and some of the adversity that not just yourself, but everybody that was going through because of the connectivity issues and really how tight everybody was. Yeah. Can you explain and tell the fans kind of what that whole scenario was in case some of the people out there missed it? But I was really intrigued because, quite honestly, the only people that really knew who won were the guys back in the studio.
Yeah, absolutely. So the service was spotty at best, at least where I was. And a lot of they told me that after. They're like, man, listen, don't think that just because you were up north, you were the only person dealing with issues, because we can't talk to other guys. You don't, so, and you can't watch live. So it's not like, we knew what was going on, but, they were like, listen, you weren't the only guy dealing with stuff, but, so don't feel that bad about it. But yeah, so a big thing and what took place there in those final few minutes for myself, we have a rule that's called an impedance rule. So you can't impede your boat official or your cameraman from doing their job, and a big part of that is for the boat official is getting the score tracker updated and that connectivity. So that rule is you can be somewhere without connectivity for 15 minutes. And once that 15 minutes is up, you have to get connectivity again. And that's the score tracker. That is not the camera. So, and I had a disagreement with that earlier in the day on the final day because I was fishing the same area I'd fished the other 2 days. I had no problems on those days. Now I would lose service, but I would literally move. I would pick my talons up. I'd move 5 feet, and I would get service again. And I'm in the same spot on the final day, and it just won't reconnect. And this was in the first period, and I don't know that any of this made the air, but we dealt with this multiple times throughout the day, and I may have to troll away 100 yards and get service, and then I could, as soon as he got service, as soon as he got connected, it could interfish. Boom, we could get right back to fishing. So that's what was happening in those final few minutes for myself, and why that was such a big deal. Even though, people were like, man, you had camera, the guy was live streaming, but how does that work? And you don't have your score tracker kind of update. I said, beats me. It takes way more to live stream than it does for that score tracker, but different services, different, but whatever, different kind of connections and stuff. And, but yeah, score tracker is the one that you've got to get service with it every 15 minutes so that I could get updated and everybody else could get my updates. And that's what happened there. And a quick run through of the timing of those last fish, because I went back.
He got another phone call.
Am I good now?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. And all this was taking place right at the end of the final period.
Run through the timeline here.
Exactly. So around 3 o'clock, somewhere in there, I hadn't caught one since the end of the first period. So all of the second period, an hour and a half into the third period, I've still not caught one. And Luke has caught some, and Gerald's caught some, and Tommy Biffle had caught some. So, and it gets to the point where Luke had passed me, and a couple other guys were at 20 pounds. Like, there were 5 of us. I want to say before I caught my next one, there were 5 people over 20 pounds. Luke was maybe 24, 27, and I was 22. And then there were 3 other guys that were 20 pounds, so they were a bite, but certainly from passing me, but even from taking the lead. So it really gotten tightened up. I make a move at 3 o'clock and run through the sketchiest area I ran through the whole time. I actually hit a stump with my boat, like, woo, like on plane.
Less than 45, though.
Less than 45, yep. To run back, to leave the area I was in, I hadn't been. I run back to an area where I had caught some on my second day. And get back over there. I'd already fished it twice on this day and didn't do any good, but I get back over there and fish around a little bit. At like 3:30, I catch a 2-1, and so then I'm 212 behind Luke, and I'm like, okay, so I caught 6, 7, 8 fish right there in a row, and that 2-1, it enters. We've got connectivity. He puts it in a score tracker. I don't know if I have live or not, but score tracker's working. That fish updates. He's like, okay, you're 212 behind Luke Clausen. I fish there a little bit more, nothing else. Move up 50 yards away, hit this other little point where I caught something, nothing. Come back to where I caught the 2-1. And the boat, I slid in a little bit further. It's kind of a mouthful a little bit. I slid in just a little bit further, skip a bladed jig up there, catch a 212, which was, you told me I needed 212. That's at 3:39. He goes to enter that fish in, no connectivity. He said, we're not connected. It's 3:40. I'm going to start the impedance rule. So you can stay here until 3:55, and then we have to get connectivity. So, okay, no big deal. I throw, and then I pick up. I was going through a rotation of baits in all the places I was fishing, and the next move from a bladed jig, I went to a Texas rig and miss a bite, then catch a 213. I'm like, I don't have connectivity, but that should put me solid in the lead. We were technically tied, I think, but I had the tiebreaker. Still no connectivity, but I'm throwing at the same place I caught the 2-1. My boat's just probably 10 feet from us. I'm like, man, it's no big deal. I'm gonna back up here in 10 minutes. I'm gonna back up and get connectivity. So 350 times nothing else. Still no connectivity. 353. I'm like, I still not got bit anymore. I'm gonna pull my talons up. I'm gonna back up 10 feet. I'll get connectivity. I'll be able to fish the last 6-7 minutes, whatever. I back up 10 feet, nothing. Back up 20 feet, nothing. 354. I move 50 yards, nothing. He's like, man, nothing. So 355, I lay my rod down. I'm like on high, trolling out of here. Nothing. He's like 356. He's like, man, maybe idle, and there's an open place right around here. He's like, maybe I'll idle out here, and I'll, top down, button up, like half on plane. I'm trying to, nothing. 357. Oh, wait, I got something. Stop, put my talons down, and he may have got one fish in. 358. I'm like, this is how it's going to end. I can't even get back to my place and get a rod up in my hand in a minute and a half now at this point. So I'm like, I guess this is how it ends, So we didn't know if Luke had caught one yet. We hadn't got a confirmation of that. I wasn't confirmed he'd got my fish in, and that's one thing that the fans need to know. Whether or not he would have got my fish entered in before 4 o'clock has no bearing on the outcome of the tournament. The fish were on the score tracker. They were on the paper. That's what's official. Just so everybody knows, it wasn't that the fish had to be on the score tracker to count. It was just, I was under that 15 minutes. We had to get it updated.
It was very chaotic, though, because guys didn't know what was going on. I'm watching it. Fans are watching, trying to figure out what's going on. And really the only people that know what's going on were the guys back in the studio, because I guess they were manually, or they had somebody manually calculating, but they had to cut away and then come back. I really felt sorry for everybody involved, but you ended up obviously being the winner, and just a great job. All right.
Whoa.
What?
Dude, we got to do the top 3 people who would not have handled that as well as Ott.
I mean, dude, there's more than 3. Okay,
I'm just saying. I feel like if that's going to happen to anyone, possibly you, James Niggemeyer, who else? Guys who would just accept that. I mean, I could think of a handful of guys. I mean, that would have just been absolute chaos.
And it was. And I apologize to my official, because I mean he is. Listen, he's doing everything he possibly can. His literally, I mean, his hand. I looked at him; his hands were trembling, trying to get this stuff to, because he was bobbling.
It's not his fault. It's not your fault.
And that's what I told him. I'm like, Brian is his name. I said, Brian, because I'm like, what's I'm like, is it really going to end this way? And he's like, I'm doing everything I can. I mean, that was as much as it'd say to keep from blowing up, because I wasn't. And I told him, I said, listen, at no point in time was I mad at you. I was just frustrated with the way it is, and that's because it wasn't his fault. It wasn't the camera guy's fault. It wasn't anybody's fault. It's just it was the situation we were in.
Technology.
They need like a backup to the backup.
Well, here's the deal. Do they not have cell boosters on those boats anyway? Yeah, that's what I thought.
But like there has to be some sort of backup to the backup.
Yeah, it's called a piece of paper and a pencil.
Well, to where they can call it in and then update. I don't know. It's crazy.
I mean, he was trying to call it in. You were on the phone and all. It was a very unique finish to that event.
And also, wasn't there a point in some events where like the whole field is stopped for certain things before in MLF events too, where they like freeze the field?
Storms and stuff, absolutely.
Weather delay.
But also, I think some technology, or like when they had the boats that weren't. That weren't specifically, your boat. If like a trolling motor or a motor went down, they froze the field until that guy would come back. So, I guess it's all part of the game.
It is, and that that is a. But that's what makes ours so much different, is that it is real. That's what we pride ourselves on a lot, is being real time and getting those updates and that kind of stuff. So that it is definitely is a challenge, and it. after the fact, I talked to them, and they said, anywhere we've ever surveyed, they go to these lakes ahead of time. They survey them for connectivity. And I'll be honest, when they announced we were going to Sam Rayburn, I'm like, this was the only place in my BASS career where I was ever at an event and they actually came and pulled my camera because I didn't have good enough service for live. That's the only place I've ever been where that happened. And I wasn't up the lake. I was like in Harvey. So I was like, we're going to a place where it's now, that event was 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was. And maybe service has gotten better, but so it surprised me we were going there. And they said that we've never tested the lower limits of our capability to see what, this place passed, but barely. So they know to raise the bar a little bit on passing anymore, and probably won't be going back to Rayburn, unfortunately, until connectivity does get
more towers. They get more towers.
They get more towers down that way.
Man, we noticed you're in your shop, and I'm curious, is there any of the baits that you use? Do you have any stuff there that you could be able to show us and the fans and talk a little bit about what you did?
Yep, I grabbed a couple here out of the boat. First one, I caught a lot of fish on a square bill, especially the first few days. And actually, the one I was using will be an OG bait in a couple years. But then on the final day, I wanted to show them something a little bit different. This is a little Rapala DT4 penguin color. See if I can get him up there real close, if it'll focus on that. But this little fella has got a lot of teeth marks. A lot of road rash on him. He's caught more than one or two. But I did. I know I caught a couple of scorables on that the last day. Bladed jig, of course, was a big deal. Just a shad colored bladed jig, gold blade, 1/2 ounce. But it's a Bass Pro Super Shad trailer on the back of it. Just that Minna style trailer. I really like that. And I did fish it with a Speed Shad some on the back too. A regular paddle tail style deal. The thing that really I was able to milk them out a lot with, that's a Bass Pro Wacky Sticko, black and blue on a number 1 VMC weedless Nico hook. But just a great wacky rigging thing. And that was I was throwing a Texas rig, a Magnum Finneck worm from Bass Pro some too. And I caught a couple on a walk bait. Like I said, I caught them on that other square bill. I caught them on on that Texas rig worm. I caught some on a swim jig, got some on a frog. I scored fish on a lot of different stuff throughout the week, but those were probably the 3 biggest ones. Was that bladed jig, square bill, and the wacky worm.
All right, I want to touch real quick there toward the end when I was watching during the last 30 minutes, whatever it was. The water that you were fishing, very, very stained, a lot of color to it. Was that kind of the trend during your entire day that day? Were you really focused on the water that had a lot of color to it?
Yeah, everything up there north was dirty water. You could see you could make out a foot when it was sunny, something like that. Which it was funny. You'd fight a fish in, and that fish would lay on its side and get the white flash of it. You could see it down further than what you would think, but it was for sure off-colored water. And yeah, that was a big part of that up there, I think, and why it was so good for me. That was when I got up there that first day of practice. It took me a while, honestly, to get anything going, but I was really comfortable up there. It looked a lot like some of the stuff I fish around home. It's kind of a cross between the Challa upper end of Douglas and the Mississippi River at La Crosse. Honestly, is the best way I know to describe it. Like that at Mississippi River, because it's got all these little chutes and little islands and little cuts and that kind of stuff. And then like it can be up here, because instead of a lot of grass, there was a little bit of grass, a lot of wood cover, these little island points and, some laydowns and that kind of stuff. Way more cover than what we have here at home, but still kind of a mix between those two. So I was comfortable. As soon as I got up there and looked at it, I just, had to kind of figure out what the fish were doing. And that was another curveball. I'm going to say at least 90% of the fish I caught were post-spawn.
Wow. Surprising there.
It really surprised me.
Huh. Pretty cool. All right, man. Let's talk real quick about heavy hitters coming up this week. I've had a brain injury here. You're going to have to help me out and refresh my memory. You qualified for it. You had 31-1, and then you had a 9-6. Is that right? Where did you do that at?
Yeah, the 9-6 came on Athens on a final day win down there, Lake Athens, from the Lake Fork Lake Athens event. And on your injury, Mark, that was, when you called the other day, asked me to be on this. That's I didn't know anything about it, and I apologize then. I am now that I didn't know, but I've sort of been praying for you since then, and glad that you are, back to full steam and doing good. But yeah, that was the qualifying for this event came through our 5 stages, including heavy hitters. Last year, heavy hitters was supposed to have been qualified for last season, and 5 events prior to it. It was going to be our second biggest fish up to that event. Well, then COVID and changes and all that kind of stuff, it got changed from being a 40 or 30-man field to a all angler field and points, but higher pay. All the changes, all the changes for last year. But yeah, our single largest fish, regardless of the day you caught it last year, counted towards your heavy hitters total. So from Eufaula, Okeechobee, Athens, wherever else we went, Sturgeon Bay, and the heavy hitters event down in Kissimmee.
Yeah.
From your single biggest fish from each of those. So it was how it ended up being 40 guys to make this one, how they qualified.
And you get 1 day of practice?
No, actually today's a day of practice, but I'm just not there yet.
Okay, that's why I was confused. I knew that they had a day of practice, and Ott's his garage, and we're having them on BTL. So I was like, "What the heck's going on?"
So that was another change with this one. So this is the place in Raleigh where we fished in 2019, where we fished 3 lakes. And I made the championship in that one, my first Bass Pro Tour championship. But we fished Jordan, we fished Falls, and then the championship was on Sharon Harris. So you had 3 lakes in play. That was still the deal this time, and it was going to kind of be broken up a similar way. Everybody, if you made the championship, you would end up fishing 3 lakes. Well, they talked about it, kind of kicked it around, and decided that this time, Group A will compete on Jordan on their 2 days of qualifying. Group B will fish on Falls on their 2 days of qualifying. The knockout and championship round are on Sharon Harris. So the most I'll fish is 2 lakes. And, I got to spend some time on them there before, and actually went back one time in the fall filming for my show. So I've spent a fair amount of time on Sharon Harris. We're no bigger than it is. And I'm personally, I'm not even going to go there and practice. I mean, that's just stuff changing by the day. I mean, as warm as it's getting, it's going to be warmer, even warmer over there. So I'm not even going to go to Sharon Harris and practice. That may be a critical mistake. Falls isn't a terribly large lake, and so I'll get 2 days there that'll practice, and then if I make Sharon Harris, I'll just wing it from there. So, but yeah, today I think everybody else other than myself is probably there practicing right now.
Does it make sense now why I was a little bit confused in the first segment? Because I had done my homework, and then I had a tough time finding it on which the 40 were, and I knew that he had obviously had to have had big fish. I was so confused.
Now you're okay, though.
But now it totally makes sense.
And they added that 3rd day of practice in when it was still in the idea that everybody was going to possibly be fishing 3 lakes, and they give you like a day on each lake. But once that got changed back, I'm like, I don't want. Yeah, so from Sam Rayburn, I'm not calling it from that, because I mean, how it is when you have a big win like that, you get a lot of requests and a lot of stuff to do. Well, I didn't get to do any of it this past week because I was filming for my Monster Bass Show Monday through Saturday. So today is like the first day I've had where I've not had anything. So, yeah, that was, I was like, I can't, be ready to go yet. So, that's all kind of led into where we are at this moment.
That's pretty cool, though. Sense. All right. Several people on the instant feedback, they want to know, do you miss the the interaction with fans. And I'm going to kind of tie in the question when you're filming your television show, which, if you haven't seen his show is freaking awesome.
Yeah, we've talked about it on the show before. It's
really, really, really good. Do you ever have any interaction with fans when you're shooting your show?
Oh yeah, I mean, boat ramps and stuff, because that's, I mean, like this week here we filmed at a little place here, and then we filmed at Watts Bar some, and yeah, I mean, people run into us on the water and everything, and definitely have. I mean, we don't set up like meet and greets or anything like that, but just the on the water and at the boat ramps and gas stations and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I definitely run into people there, and I do. You know, I mean, that's something that definitely has changed in this environment from 13 months ago. You know, to where, you know, social distancing does seem to be the new. I mean, that's just kind of the normal thing. You know, I mean, we've been into it a year now, and that's. I think people are, even at events where people are encouraged to gather and in states that allow it, it's still, you know, people are kind of hesitant to do it. You know, so it's interesting to see. I did speak at like a wild game deal down in Alabama, right before I went to Sam Rayburn, and I mean, a really good turnout. I mean, it was out at the country church, and a really good turnout there, and it was cool. It was cool to see that many people come out and be in one place together again, honestly, because that's just been rare to see.
All right, very cool. Expectations on the television show in the future. I mean, you're definitely entrenched. It's just a fantastic product. You know, what does the future hold for the show?
I don't know. I really don't. It's been, you know, I'm essentially just the hired host for it. I don't own it. I don't have any stake in it. I would love to get to that point to where it truly was mine. But I also know with everything else going on, producing a show like that that'd be a pretty tall task for me to juggle with everything else we've got going. But I would be curious as to how all that would look and how all that would work. But it's a lot of fun. You know, it's been really good for my brand, and you know, definitely does help reach people. You know, through a little different avenue than, you know, I mean, it's on Outdoor Channel, so and World Fishing Network, but it gets a lot of airtime. Yeah,
it's very, very good, very well produced too. All right, Jake in Illinois wants to know, when do you use a DT4 over a square lip?
Okay, DT, Jake, that's a really good question. I like that DT4 to be a round bill bait. It actually comes through stuff really, really well. You know, if you never threw it in stuff, you'd probably be surprised for a round bill crankbait just how well it comes through stuff. But the big thing with that DT4 is it is a pretty tight wobble for I fish it just like I would square bill. But it really is a pretty tight wobble for a bait like that. So it lends itself really well in cool water. I catch a lot of fish on it in the 40s and 50s. But like down there at Rayburn, I threw some other stuff in that area where there were so many bass that it was insane. But I threw some flat size and stuff in there, you know, some other little homemates that were running shallow enough to fish that area, and they wouldn't bite them. But a 4 or a square bill, they would actually still bite those. So it's a great all around bait for cover, for rock, for wood. And it seems like water temperature is kind of irrelevant with it. It's just such a great action.
All right. There's a fan on the YouTube page, and he's brought it up a couple times now. What is this deal with top water to catch walleye? What is he talking about?
Top water to catch walleye. It will work. It definitely does. That's a lot of people here actually around this time of the year. I've not done it myself, but this time of the year around home, they'll catch them at night on wake baits and stuff. That's a big deal here this time of the year, especially around the full moons and things. But now I have actually caught a couple in the past 5-10 years in the fall on like a walking bait in the daytime, and that was really odd. But yeah, we do have some pretty good walleye fishing, surprisingly, around here in East Tennessee and some of our rivers.
Yeah. All right. Another question from the YouTube feedback. Let's see here. They want to know, why did you choose to throw a shad color bait in the dirty water rather than a chartreuse in black or something that's bright like that?
Yeah. That is a great question, because that water did look on camera, and I went back and looked at my GoPro stuff. That water looked like you could only see about this much. Was the way it looked. You actually, when the sun was out, you could see a foot. You really could. So, and I knew those fish were feeding. They were feeding on shad heavily. I mean, they would come up on the surface sometimes. They were spitting them up, and that was. I'm really, really guilty of that. I fish a white bait as much in muddy water a lot of times as I do a chartreuse bait. It may sound dumb, but when a shad is in muddy water.
Oh, he got another phone call.
He got a good product plug though on the freeze.
That's a nice place to freeze the shot because of the phone call right there.
I don't know what. I didn't get a call on mine. Is it back now?
Okay, we're back.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I didn't get a call on mine. I don't know what happened. But,
okay.
What the comment I made, I don't think came through. But shad in muddy water don't turn chartreuse. I don't know if anybody ever knew that or not. That what they actually do is they actually get really pale. They actually get really, really white. They almost lose their back color to where they're solid white. And a guy I grew up fishing a lot with, when the water would turn super muddy, he would use a pearl white bait with a black bait dot. Pearl white, the whole thing. And we get a lot of fish that way. So that's something that's kind of always stuck with me. I'm actually more likely to use, in dirty water, I'm more likely to go to chartreuse when it's cloudy than I am if it's sunny and muddy. I'm probably going to be using white. But if you get clouds and dirty water, then I'll probably go with a chartreuse something. But
juice.
And I try to do so much stuff, especially my fishing, by the KISS principle, the keep it simple, stupid. Don't make it too hard. Shad don't change colors. Day, night, dirty, clear. They're always the same color. So it's more about, just putting your stuff in the right place so much of the time. But, yeah.
That's great stuff.
Yeah.
Right there. That's really good.
Real quick before we get off the crankbait topic, I just want to get your thoughts on this crazy cult following of this Ott's Garage OG Slim. I don't know if you're following this, but it's like this thing came out. It's been sold out for months. They're going for $20 all over on eBay. It's like the only crankbait that catches. Like, did you? I'm like was never on the original.
I've actually got one.
DT flat side bandwagon.
Okay.
Apparently that was like a cult following back then because I've looked at it. But I mean, dude, like. You have to be just raking in the royalties, to put it quite honestly. Like, I mean, it must be awesome for the DeFoe family to go to the mailbox once a month with this crank. I mean, dude, you're sold out 3 months out on it. I mean, you're going to be putting on an edition.
It really is. It's mind blowing. It really has been, Matt. And we're so thankful. I mean, I was hopeful that it would come out, that it would be a success, that people would like it and seek it out. I had no idea that it would be that it would be what it's been. And this is what I've told the people with Rapala, and it's my honest feeling on it. This is the first thing that they've done with a pro, and I don't think they'd care me sharing this. This is the first thing they've done really, truly, like a pro brought them a bait and said, "Hey, we need to do this," and that they've done it, that they followed through with in a long time. A lot of the stuff we'll get some input on. We'll tweak this. We'll do that. We'll change this color. That kind of stuff. But this is, to my knowledge, the first thing in a long time that they have took what one of their pro staff said, "Hey, we need to do this," and did it, and it's been a raving success. And that makes me happy for them as a company to say, "Hey, us trusting our guys, us putting our faith in them, and really doing exactly what they ask us to do can be something just phenomenal." So obviously, I'm so thankful. I'm happy for my family and for what it's doing for us. But I'm really happy for them as a company to see that return on on that kind of investment.
prime example, and there's a lot of discussion about, well, are professional bass anglers less valuable with the impressions that YouTube guys are getting now, and how many people are really paying attention to the tournament? That's a prime example of a professional angler right here with Ott, who is moving the needle.
Yeah.
I mean, worth every penny.
And we talk about that
and
all
making
the time.
money. As I said, we have that discussion. But you would be shocked at how many of the baits are designed by touring guys. Well, look at Frank. We have Frank Scalish on all the time, and he designs a lot of baits and colors for Norman Pradco, all that stuff. But there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. But I wanted to bring that up because that's been really cool to watch that just absolutely explode off the charts. I mean, like I said, they're sold out to like the middle of May.
And it will actually, it's not just a one bait, one off deal. And it was, I mean, from the beginning, they're like, hey, this is, obviously we hope Slim is a success, but we're bait number 2 is completely done. Bait number 3, I've got some 3D prints of that we're.
Oh wait, so you're coming out with more stuff, new stuff?
It's a whole line. Yeah, it's going to be a bait a year kind of thing. That's I mentioned the square bill that I used at Sam Rayburn. That's not the bait that's coming this fall. That will actually be the bait, the following year. So
you were using a 2 years out prototype at Rayburn?
Unfortunately for the fans watching.
What the heck was that? What was that? I was hoping it wasn't a child. Can we see the dog? We always show the dogs.
Yeah. It's 2 of them. They're a pair of shepherds. This is a good one.
Aren't those one of the most intelligent dogs in the world?
This one is, yes.
Yeah, like that breed?
No.
The other one, not so much.
Not quite
the other
so
one's,
much.
The other one.
Yeah, this one is. He's still a pup. He's like 4 months old or something. But yeah, he's not quite as smart. They're technically, she is his aunt, I think, by blood
by
relation
marriage
or something. But
I do see Mark Edwards said, is Matt going to ask questions about Douglas Lake to Ott? No, I am not, because Ott has a wonderful video and numerous videos out on his YouTube channel through is it Visit Tennessee, or what county is it that you did? And it is
Jefferson County. That was one. Yeah.
It is mid-April tactics for Douglas and Cherokee Lake, where Ott is on the lake. There's slow-mos. There's amazing fog shots. He breaks down what you need to do, and I have taken that 10-minute video and applied it to my preparation for the upcoming Open. So I feel like I've talked to you, even though I haven't. It was a very educational video.
There you have it.
When you said you had another question, that's actually what I was expecting it to be. Just to be quite honest, Matt, hey, which I will say. Dude, every year, here's a little dummy back. Every year on Douglas, it's something different. Some years it's like, oh man, the lake is just creeping up. It's a dry year. We've not had a lot of rain. And the next year we got rain in February. The lake went full. Then they sucked it back down. Well, this year I hadn't checked it in the last couple of days, but as of the last big rain, it had went to full pull. It had come up 30 feet in like 2 weeks, vertical feet. Went from 960 to 990, and less than about 2 weeks time. And so I can't for the life of them imagine that they're not going to be pulling it back down really hard, which this is like. Plus we've got weather in the 70s, 80s. Good luck. Because it's not going to be
just stop. Just stop.
Good luck. That's
just
what
stop.
he says.
Yeah,
I might take your advice and just sit in the garage for a couple days and then just show up and fish the dang thing.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
Good luck.
That's good stuff. That's what that
how
is.
How fast can that lake drop? I mean, obviously we've seen everything. It's notorious for that at that time of the year. But if they're trying to drop it as fast as they can, what is the 24-hour max?
Given the lake level and just, we've not had any rain a couple of days. It's supposed to be pretty dry, but in the springtime, the ground is saturated. But if they pulled it, because the lake is up high, so the higher it gets, the more ground it covers. Once they get it narrowed down to where it's just in the river channel, man, they can fluctuate a lot because it's not that much water. But given how big and spread out the lake is right now, if they could pull it a foot a day, that would be really, really sucking it. But 4 to 6 inches a day, that won't get it back down to where it should be at this point in time during the year. I don't think. But the TVA app is a great way to follow all those.
I'm all over that. I'm all over the past, the historical data that has all the charts with the predicted weather and the current, and then you can go back and look and say it was like this in 2016, and then compare that to all sorts of stuff, and then Ott says good luck.
and people don't realize just how important that stuff is, man. I spend so much time looking at past water levels. Is this common for this time of the year? And not just here. I mean, I did that so much before I went to Sam Rayburn. Is it common for the lake to be at this level? Is it typically 6 foot higher? Is it normally a foot lower? And then just following the here and now, is it steadily rising? Is it dropping? Is it completely stable? All those things factor so much once you really get there and see, just knowing the trend, is the lake steady rising or steady falling? That's such a big deal.
When was the last time you fished a tournament on that place and didn't cash a check?
On Douglas?
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was. I filmed with Rapala and Wired to Fish for some of their content for new stuff coming this year. Before I went to Sam Rayburn as well, and it was fishing as good as it had fished in a long time, and it was like 960. 959, 960, and it had been up like 6 or 8 feet above that, which is that it got up above where it should have been for that time of year, but they had actually sucked it back down, and then pulling it back down plus a warming trend is like the fish I wanted to be shallow, but then they pulled the water back off of them. It made for a really, really good recipe for catching them really good.
I did watch another YouTube video, and this was just a guy that was out there in April. Guess how he was catching them, Mark?
Well,
I'll give you one guess.
No. I'm looking at him.
No. It's your favorite way.
Carolina rig.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. No, that is the Douglas standby in April. You get on a gravel bank, you throw a Carolina rig, you're going to catch the fish. You may not catch a lot of big ones, but you're going to catch the fish. So.
We had a bet on how long it would take me to catch a fish on a Carolina rig at a tournament.
It may happen.
And it may happen way sooner. I predicted, I think, like 2027.
Jeez, man.
Yeah.
Just in the Carolina rig.
Yeah, you could do it there, and that was. I'll give this comment on the Carolina rig. I've always hated it. I'll throw it up more for smallmouth. Some now just because it is so effective on them, but I avoid it like the plague anywhere else. But my brother growing up, I remember fishing with him on Douglas. I was probably 16, or he was probably 16 or 17. I'm a couple years, 2.5 years younger than he is. So, I was somewhere in 13, 14 range, whatever. But quit.
Uh-oh.
They're getting mad at
WWE.
each other. Yeah, but so we were fishing a tournament there together, and I was like, we were in his boat. I had a boat that had got me at that age too, but Sonny drove. We were fishing together, and we were down the lake throwing the Carolina rig on points. I'm like, we caught a bunch of little that we had like a limit for 8 or 9 pounds. Like, we need to go up the lake and get up there where we can throw a spinner bait and flip a jig. He's like, no, we're gonna stay down here. We'll catch some better fish sometime. We argued like brothers do all day. We stayed down there. We didn't catch doodly squat, a bunch of little ones, and threw his Carolina rig around on these gravel banks. And I said, I'm never fishing this way again. And so, and I'm not. But yeah,
wow.
Then it was that way back then. He liked fishing like that, and I wanted to be up the lake and throwing a spinner bait or pitching a jig or something.
Nice. All right. Couple more questions, then we'll let you go. A lot of the fans want to know, have you had the riverboat out lately? Do you still have it? What's the scoop on that?
Oh, yeah. It's parked. I don't want to move the phone and mess up the connection or anything. Yeah, it's sitting right here. I actually filmed out of it some for Monster Bass this last week. And it was kind of tough on that place, but I did catch one big one of the days we were up there. And right before Rayburn, I'd fished in it some. Me and my buddy Biggs. It's on a lot of my YouTube stuff. And we had our best 5 that day went like 24 and lost the biggest bite we had. So that was a pretty good day. Very cool.
Yeah. And then several people want to know, who is your favorite angler? either growing up, now, past, present, future? Who's your favorite guy?
My favorite guy growing up, certainly, and still somebody that I look up to and admire is Jay Ellis. And I always admired him for his stand for Christ, number one. That he always kept that front and center. But also a personal thing that happened with him when my brother Sonny and I actually and Dad would take us to the classics. We went from 96 to like 04. We went to 8 or 9 of them, whatever it was, in a row there. But one of the ones, and I think it ended up being the one that Jay won down in Alabama. They used to have like the autograph day. You'd go meet and greet and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they'd fish the lap in like a little city lake on most of those. They'd have it at a little small lake. They'd put their classic rigs in and fish a lap around the lake, and they'd load them back up and take them out. And we were over at the dock, they would actually take, they could only have 12 rods or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. They would unload their stuff at the dock to take back to their hotel rooms to rig their tackle. And Jay gets the rods out of his boat that he's going to fish the Bassmaster Classic in. His rods and reels, and leans them up there on the dock. And my brother and I were standing there just talking to him. And I said, this was kind of bold for whatever it was, 10, 11, 12-year-old kid. I don't know how I would respond if somebody asked me. I would at this point because Jay made that impression on me. But I said, can I like hold your rod? Can I use it? And he said, wear it out. And
they're getting after it, man.
I hit the thing. I saw somebody that knocked on the door.
Yeah.
But I got to use Jay Ellis's rod that he was going to use in the Bassmaster Classic in a couple of days from that, and that was really cool to me.
That is cool.
That was neat.
Yeah. And I think that was the one that he ended up winning. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was.
Were you in the boat with him when he won that?
Yeah, I was with him day one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where he went way up the river, and the pontoon boat went by, and then he came back down river, and he caught his biggest fish of the day on the dock that had the smiley face on it. And it said, "Oh, have a nice day." And I remember the headline that I used for that story was, "Oh, happy Jay."
Wait, so you watched Jay Ellis catch a fish in the Bassmaster Classic that he won on a rod and reel that Ott DeFoe had held 48 hours earlier?
There you have
it. Small world.
Small world. But that particular dock, every time I see Jay, we always talk about that.
That's
that
cool.
dock.
And then you fished were you 18 the first full year of your FLW tour?
21.
21. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was 18 when I started on the Ever Starts.
Okay.
And I 2007, and my birthday's in 85, so I think I was 21 and maybe turned 22 later that year. I think would be right.
Do you ever look back when you're 18, 19, 20? I mean, I know every angler looks back and says, man, I can't believe I thought that was a good idea at the time, 5 years hindsight. But, I mean, you're one of the most accomplished anglers in the sport. And do you ever look back on those first couple years that you were on tour and were like, man, I didn't have any clue? Or you seem to kind of catch them right off the bat and be really consistent.
There's definitely events where I look back at and I'm like, man, if I would have had just a little another piece of the puzzle, or stuff where I scraped by and I had a decent finish, but no.
Oh, he got another phone call.
Yeah.
I wonder if you put that on D&D.
Yeah, I think there's
whether or not.
Yeah, we need to do. Did you get a call?
Right, he's back.
He's back.
Yeah, that was weird. No, it wasn't a call on my end. It just like froze up or something.
Huh. Okay.
Because it's golden in between it.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, no, there were events I look back on, and it was like, maybe I got a check in this tournament, but knowing what I know now, it for sure would have been a top 10, or something like that, or ones where I did, completely miss a check. That would have been easy to salvage that into decent finish. One of the first time I went to Santee, I was completely new at sight fishing, knew nothing about it, but was able to squeak out a check. I remember on one of the days, I think I caught 5, or I may have caught 6. Score keepers that day, and so you're saying scorables now. You know, I caught like 5 or 6. Was all I caught, and there were so many fish around. But I'd fish for this one. I mean, it would take me 45 minutes or an hour to catch a fish that would now take me 5 minutes. You know,
wow.
because I was completely new at bed fishing. You know, so just didn't know at all what I was. Just had the stuff, little tricks to make them bite quick.
And then, if I remember, you were a big Pop R guy back then, weren't you? Like the original, like instead of asking about the crankbaits and all the stuff that everyone does now, you were the guy who flipped the shaved lip P70, like in bushes and stuff like that. That's what you were known for I'd say 5 years before people started realizing, holy cow, you can catch them doing everything.
Yeah, because that was, you know, a couple of the, you know, big tournaments where I had done really well. That was something that Greg Powers and some of those guys from around here had really made popular. Some of the first couple tournaments where I had big success, that was kind of how I caught them into those. So yeah, that was, you know, some of my breakout stuff, I guess you could say, was kind of, you know, revolved around that.
Yeah. Great stuff, man. All right, we're going to let you go. Best of luck this week at Heavy Hitters. And, man, thank you so much for taking time out, coming on the show. I'm a big Ott DeFoe fan, and just greatly appreciate you taking time to join Matt and myself.
No, glad to be a part of it. And actually, Mark, I meant to tell you at first, and then I was going to say it then, and I forgot. And then now you just said something reminded me. I love being on Bass Talk Live with you all because you typically always get my name right, Mark. Now, that last time you just said DeFoe, but earlier you said DeFoe. You're one of the few people who usually get it right.
Yeah.
I was going to point it out. You have a brother named Sonny, right?
That's right.
Sonny DeFoe?
Sonny D. Yep. Like the drink.
Just like the drink.
Juice?
Yeah.
Yep. Sonny D.
Yeah. Now, I get it right. I just was kind of going
I know.
quick,
I was
to wrap
half
it up.
and half on that. Everyone reminded us because when Mercer used to do it, he got it wrong the first couple times, and then he would go DeFoe.
He would really,
and that really hammered it home to everybody.
Yeah. All right, man. Be careful, and we'll talk to you soon, man. Love to have you on the show again. All right, take care, Ott.
See you.
All right, see you. There you have it, folks. Ott DeFoe. And some really good stuff there, man.
Yeah, how about that?
Nice
Heavy
insight.
hitters. You got $25K on the line in the first 2 rounds, $50K, and then $100K. And he's hanging out with the pups in the garage on the first day.
It's confidence.
That's also, I think it's also, like you said, it's a 12,000-acre fishery, an 8,000-acre fishery. It's the time of the year where everything's changing.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. Let's take a break, come back, and we'll wrap things up on a Tuesday. Everybody stay tuned.
Utilizing my experience, utilizing my time on the water, evolving as an angler, and that evolution should never stop. You have to do it every day. From when you wake up in the morning, you got to be thinking about changing, continually changing every minute, every cast. That's really the premise of fishing the moment.
Hey everyone, Brandon Polnick here. People always be asking me what I got tied on. And I'm like, X-Zone lures. And they're like, Brandon, why you got X-Zone lures tied on? And I'm like, let me show you why.
The bite.
Get out of there. Get out of there. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's freaking big. Get in here. Oh, God. Giant. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
I think you get the point.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
You've been waiting all week for this. And Sunline wants to make sure you're ready for it with bulk spools of all your favorite fishing lines.
That's so fun.
Bulk up with Sunline.
All right, we are back, wrapping things up here on a Tuesday. I want to thank, once again, Ott DeFoe.
Mm-hmm.
That was good stuff, man.
Yeah, it was. I didn't know about the ending to that between him and Luke Clausen. So I watched a lot of that. I watched a lot of the Justin Lucas stuff where he was fishing during the days. I watched the guys that were up shallow, but on the final day, I had something going on the final day. I wasn't able to watch the final day except for some of the highlights of it. So I didn't. That was all news.
Oh, it was crazy. It was chaos. And it was fault to anybody.
I know, but it just stinks. And let's be honest, there was a chance that technology determined the outcome of the event.
Not really.
Yes. How could there not be?
There
was a chance. I'm not saying whether it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's the age we live in now.
Listen to me. All right. What you're saying is kind of murky, because if there was a fish that was in the boat that was weighed prior to the time, going to the end or whatever it was.
I understand that.
Then it's good.
I understand that.
Because they have it on paper.
Did you not hear the part where Ott said that he put his rod down with 7-8 minutes left because the 15 minutes were up and he was not fishing?
You're dead on.
Now,
you're right. Yep.
Hypothetically,
you're right.
And like I said, this is not a knock on anything. When we did the 1 versus 1s, we had a 15-minute rule, right, Mark?
Yeah.
Hey, you have no connectivity, you have to leave. That could cost people money. But the deal was, let's say Luke Clausen had caught one. There were 6 minutes that Ott could have had to freaking catch one to get back ahead that he wouldn't have had. So there was a chance that technology would have determined the outcome.
No, you're right on that.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
The last thing I want to mention is, dude, guess what I did yesterday?
What'd you do?
I was at a photo shoot.
What? Explain.
I got to show you this. There's a dude named Aaron Davis at Oklahoma. He's got like 45,000 Instagram followers, and I followed him forever. And he's like a really killer outdoor photographer. He does like dogs, duck hunting, fishing, boating, all sorts of stuff.
And pangers.
Yeah, hold on. I got to pull this photo up. So anyway, I'm with the battery company this year, Pro Guide Batteries out of Missouri.
Yep.
You go to Pro Guide Batteries and use the code PANGER, you get 10% off your battery.
Oh, nice plug there.
Seriously though, if you are, it's that time of year. If you're looking for new, I've got the 30,
casual plug.
I got the 31 AGS, lead acids, phenomenal. I can look for bedfish all day, still going. They got some bigger stuff coming down the pipe.
Keep it going, Panger. You're on a roll,
code
man.
Panger, Panger. I even went with my nickname, 10% off. And on batteries, I mean, dude, you got guys like Pete Wetter's the guy, Jeremy Lawyer, Daryl Gleason.
Man, you're just throwing it out there.
I'm just saying,
it.
If the fact that I use them doesn't sway you, there are some bigger names that use them anyway.
And believe me, he's on the trolling motor a lot.
So Matt Looney with Pro Guide was like, hey, we want to get some, because it's hard to promote a battery company because batteries are just not sexy. They don't wiggle.
But they're necessary, though.
100%. It's like kind of like, but I mean, you could only post so many pictures of batteries.
No,
they don't move. They don't dance. They don't do anything.
I get it.
So they do some lifestyle shots and stuff. So anyway, he was like, hey, I'm down. We're going out. They did like, I think Jeremy Lawyer earlier in the morning on a different lake, got a bunch of the guys together. So I went back from the show, washed the boat, ran down to the Arkansas River, and was in a photo shoot, which was weird because I was nervous because I've shot a bunch of them, right? To where you're telling the guys, hey, bring this, and then the guys are, how did that look? And then, so like, now I'm there and I'm like, dear God, I hope I catch a fish so we have something to take a picture of. And then I caught one. And, but look at this one.
Oh, what is this? This is a picture of the picture?
No, yeah. So I just took a picture. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that was like you have to like
him
run next to each other. And then he does like low shutter speed, and he's like moving the camera with it. It was cool. We were out there and shot for like 4 hours, but it was interesting.
Did you catch any fish?
Yeah, we caught like 4 or 5.
Okay.
But it was interesting to be on the other end of it for a change. So that's a
superstar in the making right here. Now all you have to do is go to Douglas and catch him.
Do you remember what that code was?
Panger.
Yeah,
10% off.
10% off your batteries at Pro Guide Batteries. Like I said, A lot of big name guys who are used to those things.
Yeah, good stuff there, man. Good stuff. All right, great show once again. Hey, you're bringing your A game today, Matthew. Very nice.
Just shame.
You know what I did yesterday? I went and got a haircut.
It looks good. It didn't affect the back of your head.
so
How's
long.
the bruise on the back? Is it going away?
It's scabbed up pretty good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you tell her, like, I almost died?
Yeah. It's the same girl that cuts my hair all the time. So, yeah, it was good. So, hair was massively long. Got it all cut off. Anyway, all good stuff today. If you didn't check out and weren't able to watch or listen to the Ott DeFoe segment, DeFoe, you need to make sure you go back and listen to it because there are some gems.
If you're
as far
planning
as
on
info.
grilling out while you're listening to the Ott DeFoe segment, if you go to JD Murray's, JDMURYS.com, and use the code BASS, you get free shipping on your spice orders over $12.95.
Jeez, you're turning it into the human promo, man. Anything else you want to plug?
In the latest Best on Tour, a little feature on the Baby Bass ABC's book. I believe we've had it on before. Yeah. He's kind of making a resurgence on that. There's a link in there. It makes a great gift. I know there's a lot of baby showers and stuff
Did
going
you throw
on.
some stuff out on Instagram? Is that what people are talking about?
Yeah, I just had some pictures from yesterday.
Cool stuff. All right, folks, tomorrow, great show. Ken Duke is going to be on, but it is the Sunline Hotline Show. Your chance to call in. Give us your feedback. Give us your comments. Ask myself, Matt, or the master, the best historian in this business, Mr. Ken Duke, any questions that you want. And we love to hear from you. All right? I haven't said it for over a month now, but I'm going to say it now. Folks, if you're listening to us on iTunes, on the podcast, please help us out. Make sure you leave a review and a rating for us on iTunes because it helps us out immensely.
You know what Sunline is, right? It's the strength to guarantee your confidence.
Oh, you have confidence, my friend. A lot of confidence. The other thing is, hey, we're kind of zoning in on that 10,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, please do that. Make sure you tell all your friends in your club, in your tournaments, on your street.
Hey, I have an idea, Mark.
What's that?
When we hit 10,000 subs, Big Bite just came out with 4 new colors of the BFE. Perhaps we could do a giveaway.
That's a tad bit overkill there. Hey, let's do it, man. We'll give... Hey, I think I got some old hoodies in there I might give away, too. How about that?
Speaking of hoodies...
Clothing's coming. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
We have made strides with the BTL clothing.
Yeah.
That will only be available in a micro sale for 2 weeks. It'll be up there for 14 days and then done.
We'll talk about that tomorrow. All right, folks. Everybody be safe. That is it. We're out of here.